So we will look at the necessary steps in developing a carbon project, having an overview of the project cycle and where CEDA program officers may enter and may be of interest to them. Developing a carbon project involves a series of essential steps, which is called as project cycle. And these steps ensures that the project contributes to reducing or removing the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, is credible, and meet the standards necessary for carbon credits. The first step is usually the feasibility assessment, scope, and financing. So the project has to have a clear feasibility plans. It has to have a clear financing structure. Of course, the scope is absolutely necessary. How many people it will reach, how much carbon it will generate, how it will be financed, the implementation phase, and the sales of carbon credits, the revenue distributions or benefit sharing. All this has to be clear. When this is clear, then the next step is contacting the standard. For a carbon project in voluntary or even compliance market, you have to be backed up by a standard. You're complying to a certain standard for the credits to be verifiable. The other step is preparation and validation of the project design documents. So after you are clear on the scope and the feasibility, you are clear on the standard that you're going to use, then you have to prepare and validate the project design document. This is done by the validation and verification body, so that it's clear that this project has aligned to the selected standard. The next step is listing and registration of the carbon project. So you have to list with a particular standard and make sure that the project has been registered. The other step is inception and, of course, implementation. So when the project has been registered, then it has to be implemented. You have to ensure the stakeholders are engaged, everybody's aware, the safeguard mechanism are in place, the beneficiaries are also aware. So all this has to be done. So the step 6 is monitoring and reporting. So the biggest chunk of carbon project is monitoring and reporting. It is heavy when it comes to monitoring and reporting. Of course, depending on which standard you have picked, some standard will require annual monitoring and reporting. Others will be every verification, maybe between maybe 1 and 5 years. But all the standards somehow will require once in 5 years verification. But of course, monitoring is absolutely important to ensure that the design you have, the implementation components is working as you had envisioned, and where challenges occur, then they are solved and the project back on track. The step 7 is verification. This is where the carbon credits generated and reported in the monitoring report are verified by a third party validation and verification body. So these third parties are usually keen to ensure that you followed all the standard regulations, and the reported credits are in fact credible and can be issued. Then the next step is issuance and sales of the carbon credit. So when the carbon credits are verified, they have to be issued through a registry, and from this registry you can sell to a third party. It's like a bank where you put in your credits and you can pay, or you can exchange, or you can transfer the credit to a buyer, for example. Then step 9 is revenue distribution or benefit sharing, where you have to share the revenue that come from these carbon credits together with other stakeholders, especially the main people who generated the credits, the farmers in our case. So looking at the case where a project officer or a program officer in SEDA is evaluating maybe a project financing, we saw SEDA Priority 2, for example. It's a project-based financing. You don't have to concentrate on all the steps, but there are maybe areas where you can concentrate on. Have picked step 1, 3, 6, 7, and 8, because this is where, from my view, that SEDA program officer will be very useful. When you look, for example, step 1, feasibility assessment. SEDA program officer here may be involved early by identifying the potential projects, whether it's aligned with SEDA development objectives, particularly in regions on the sector where they are focused on. So if you are evaluating this kind of project, one of the critical area you want to get is that is it aligned, properly aligned? Because if it's not properly aligned, then it doesn't make sense to move to the next stage. Another step is step 3, when it comes to preparation and validation of the program design document. And here, SEDA program officer could provide technical assistance and guidance, ensuring that the project aligns with the international standard, and also it aligns with the SEDA sustainability goals. Remember, there was the feasibility bit first, but here is now the project is being designed properly for implementation. So it may be necessary for the SEDA program officer to check it out. The other step is monitoring and reporting. And during this phase, SEDA officer may monitor the project progress through regular checks in, field visits, and review of project reports. They may also support local capacity building initiative to ensure effective monitoring and compliance with the international safeguards. The other step is on verification. And here, SEDA can assist by providing access to technical expertise needed for monitoring and verification processes, or funding if the cost of verification itself. And this may also ensure that verification aligns with the broader sustainable development goals. Step 8 might be also where SEDA may, of course, it may not be directly engaged in carbon credit transaction, but the program officers might help connect project developers with buyers, facilitate access to voluntary or compliance market, especially when the government are involved. They may also encourage using the proceeds to invest in community benefits and local development.